Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is the newest attempt at doing a Dungeons & Dragons movie. This is directed by the writers of Spider-Man Homecoming and based on the role-playing game of the same name. Has no connections to the 2000s movie whatsoever. This is a full-on reboot. And this movie stars Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justin Smith, Sophia Lillis, Ray J. Jean Page, and Hugh Grant. We follow a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers, and as they embark on an epic journey to retrieve a long-lost relic. But their charming adventure goes dangerously awry when they run around the wrong people. When it comes to Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, I was curious, but I was also a little bit hesitant because that last Dungeons & Dragons movie was not the greatest. I went into this movie optimistic still, because video game movies has been, like I said, in my review of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, they've been making a resurgence and doing great for better and worse. Some are hit more than others, but I definitely feel like that they actually nailed what they were going to do here. And Dungeons & Dragons, from the trailers, I thought this looked pretty funny, but I also expected the worst out of this when it comes to this, because that last Dungeons & Dragons movie. But with the directors involved and with the cast involved, I have faith that this will be good. And not only I thought this was great, but I thought this was another big surprise movie of the year for me, and miles better than that 2000s film. Getting into what I loved about the movie, I will say the story is very simple enough. The story doesn't need to be some globe-trotting MI7 whatever such. Its heart is in the right place here. It's pretty good and in terms of what it can do. Now, it's very creative when it comes to what it's trying to do, when it comes to emulating the spirit of Dungeons & Dragons here, while also making fun of some of the things that they make fun of in this movie, and it goes for it. And pretty basically absorbed in some parts, but for the most part, I really just think they really hit the home when it comes to what the movie set out to do. And even if you're not a Dungeons & Dragons fan, or you are, this movie is definitely entertaining. And it has that Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle surprise factor, where we all thought Welcome to the Jungle was not going to be very good, but that movie was actually really competent. This movie here did do exactly what they're going to do. It is very entertaining in a lot of aspects, and this movie gets very emotional surprisingly, which I very much love. There are some emotional moments in this movie that are very good here, and with his family here, you definitely feel that when it comes to it. There are some emotional anchor where I actually got heartbroken and actually heartfelt, and this is showing you how fantasy movies can be when you do it right. When you do it wrong, you'll get something very bad. But when it comes to fantasy stuff and video game stuff, I felt like this definitely took it to its core, and I definitely did like it. And I loved the characters in this movie in this. The characters in this movie are very well developed, very well utilized, and they definitely get the screen time they deserve for a movie like this. Each character is there to serve the purpose and to serve the plot very well. Chris Pine, I thought he was the standout of the movie. I love Chris Pine. He's very funny as Agent Davis. You feel like he has a lot of emotional moments here in this movie that he takes, but he's also very funny in the movie, and he wants to be reunited with his daughter, which you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But I thought he was great here. Michelle Rodriguez was pretty good here. She is very fun here, and as Helga Kilgore, I thought she had some very entertaining moments to her, and I thought she was pretty much a badass here. Michelle Rodriguez, when you give her something, she can make it work. for the most part. You also have Justice Smith as Simon Omar. He's a half-elf magic sorcerer with the descent of Elmastar Amunan, a notable wizard, and he was very funny in here. It's good to see Justice Smith do more stuff like this outside of his box. Hugh Grant as 4G Fitzwillen. He is a con artist and an ambitious rogue artist. He was fun. I like Hugh Grant as an actor. I thought he did a good job in his... My favorite character in the movie was actually Sophia Lillis as Doric, which she is pretty much a shapeshifter. Sophia Lillis has been one of those rising talents to always look after ever since It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. Also stuff like the Netflix show that she did, and so Gretel and Hansel. And she is just someone that she's going to continuously to be on the lookout anytime she does something. The way she is a mix of Elizabeth Olsen, Caitlin Dever, and a little bit of Karen Gillan. If Karen Gillan and Elizabeth Olsen was redheaded, mashed up together. And her as a shapeshifter, she was very fun, she was very likable, and she had a fun presence to her. She's also a member of the Emerald Enclave, and I thought she did a very good job in there. And she's very fun in the movie. And also, I do like some of the stuff they set up with her and Justice Smith. So if they ever do a sequel to this, which I'll get into in the negative, Daisy Head as wannabe Scarlet Witch or Savnia, because she does remind me of Scarlet Witch a little bit. She was good, but she got very over the top at points, at moments. She was fine. She had her moments. I didn't think she was terrible. Action set pieces are a lot of fun. There are some great action set pieces here that stands out. Great usage of practical effects and CGI effects blends in very well for $150 million. The comedy in this movie hits very well. I definitely love a lot of the comedy mostly. It does go into some of that little kind of Thor Ragnarok-esque humor, which kind of, but luckily is nowhere near as bad as Love and Thunder. It works very well when it comes to the comedy. And also with some of the dramatic moments, some of the emotional moments, this movie works very well too. I also say the cinematography by Barry Peterson is good. This is a good looking movie. This movie is way short. 2 hours and 14 minutes. It goes by very quick. Edited well by Dan Lebenthal. The score by Lauren Balfe, who I love that guy as a composer. His score is also really good. And I just appreciate the fact that the costumes and the set design and the set pieces, all of that in this movie are very well done, and it goes for it. This movie knows what it is, and it does not shy away from what it is. So I definitely much enjoy what this movie had to offer, and what this movie went, and what this movie was going for. So definitely a fan of that in a lot of respects. Also, I was definitely very much impressed with just how entertained I was with this. This is how entertainment is supposed to be. And you don't have to always have a message about wanting to be accepted or being an outcast. You do what you do best, and that here is definitely very good here. There are quite a few issues I have with this movie. I will say there are some characters here that gets a little bit underutilized here, and I do wish some of them had more to do. Chloe Coleman, she's there for the purpose, but she could have done a little bit more. I will also say there are a few other characters I wish they could have done more with some underused performances here. There are some moments here that a little drags her a little bit in the second half. I'll say it because there are some moments here that could have been cut for time while it drags a little bit here. And Reggie Jean Page here, while I do like the performance and I like him as an actor, he got way too over the top for me when it comes to this movie. He was so over the top in this movie, and he was kind of a little annoying here, though. Not as obsessively annoying, but just a little bit annoying. And this is just another thing when it comes to the movie itself. You're not going to hear me say anything bad about the dragon in this movie, because I think that was a nice touch, considering that this is a fantasy movie. But the people who... This movie did do well, but I don't know if we're going to get a sequel to this or not, because I feel like more people should have went out and go see it. This movie made $208 million, so it's definitely one of the highest grossing movies of the year. But I felt like this should have been a bigger hit, because you would think with all the praise this movie is getting, this would definitely be another one of those Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle cases, where it makes almost the same money as that. So I don't know if we're going to get a sequel to this or not, which I hope we do, because I definitely enjoy these characters. I'll probably take 5 or 6 more of these things if the Rise of Spider-Man Homecoming does this. But ultimately, I did enjoy this movie a lot more than I thought it would be. It's very entertaining, very fun, very awesome to watch, and ultimately, I just enjoy a lot of the heart and soul that they put into this. The characters are great, the set pieces were great, I love the action scenes here. This is what you expect a fantasy blockbuster adventure to be. And for that, this movie gets my recommendation. I'm giving this movie an Epictastic for being a lot of fun. It's the same grade I give to Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle and Jumanji The Next Level. So for that, you earn my respects for being fun. And if you have not seen this movie already, watch it on Paramount Plus. This movie is great. Go watch it. Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. I will have my channel here, so you would like to see anything here. Click the channel icon, subscribe for more. I will also leave a video and maybe a playlist here, so in case you want to see what I'm about. As always, stay Epictastic, join the Epictastic, and you guys keep it cool.